Hello everyone, DarkOfAllTrades here. Today I want to talk a little bit about belief. What does it mean to believe in something or believe something is true? People can have slightly differing meanings depending on a lot of circumstances. However, generally when I use the term belief, I mean the acceptance that a statement is true or that something exists in reality. So moving forward, I'm going to use this meaning. Of course, believing in something may be different, meaning something like trust or confidence in something or someone. For example, when my friend is nervous about an interview, I can say, I believe in you. And that doesn't mean I'm saying that I accept that my friend exists. It means I have confidence in their ability to do what they're setting out to do. I enjoy talking about the distinction between meanings when I have the time to do so. However, when someone is making an argument, I don't like it when the language gets in the way, so to speak. This is why I think nailing down a meaning of a specific, potentially ambiguous term is important. We can get to the logic part as soon as we are reasonably sure we understand what the message means. Anyway, this leads to today's video from a channel called Smart Christians Channel, all lowercase. All proper nouns need to be capitalized. But I don't want to get stuck on that. The video is titled, Great Response to Atheist? A question. I'll see if I can answer that, but I don't want to jump to any conclusions. I've only watched about 10 seconds so far, so I'm not sure what this gentleman is responding to exactly, so he definitely could have a great response. Let's find out.
Only heaven silent for an answer.
So I don't believe in any God figure because it is but just a belief and no more. A belief is not truth, it is a belief.
I'm going to start by responding to this presumably atheist's comment, and I'll try to keep it brief. This statement was poorly written. It gives the theist too much room to address different aspects of it. A belief is not truth. That is correct. A belief is, as I stated in the intro, an acceptance of something being true or extant in reality. I could even argue that a God is more than just a belief, but is instead a character with parallels across countries, societies, and times, no matter how fictional that character may be. This person's argument seems to be pushing the idea that all theists have is a belief and nothing else. Of course, a theist would then point to other aspects and arguments to try to defend their claim beyond a simple belief, such as the bad evidence of their holy text, an appeal to authority, or the idea that if a creator God existed, then we would expect something to exist, look at the trees, or the teleological argument. Perhaps this would have been better said as, I don't believe in any God figure because belief alone does not constitute truth. Beliefs themselves are subjective constructs devoid of empirical evidence and therefore cannot be equated with truth.
Here's the question though, Roland Keith. What if it's true? What if it's more than a belief? Now, a belief doesn't mean anything. That means that a belief is not necessarily true or false.
I'm getting flashbacks to Jim Bob, though this guy is correct here. A belief is itself neither inherently true nor false. The contents of propositions within the belief is what the truth value lies. It is the specific claims or assertions that can be evaluated as true or false based on evidence, reasoning, and examination of reality.
A belief in the Easter Bunny or the Tooth Fairy, that's a belief, but also a belief in gravity, that's a belief.
Christians don't believe in gravity.
One's true, one is not. The issue is, do you have any reason to believe the Bible? Because if you have any reason to believe the Bible, then you then have a reason to believe what the Bible says.
Let me get this straight. If you have a reason to believe the Bible, you have a reason to believe what the Bible says? Is that the point here? If you have a reason to believe X, then you have a reason to believe X? Maybe more nuanced? If you have a reason to believe X book is true, then you have reason to believe that what is written in X book is true? Quite the tautology here. Is there anything that this could not be applied to? If you have a reason to believe on the origin of species, then you have a reason to believe what is written in On the Origin of Species. Maybe he misspoke or is not making the point he thinks he is making. Let's just keep going.
Here's why you might want to think about having some reasons to believe the Bible, if the Bible is true.
Maybe he did say it like he meant it. Here are some of the reasons to believe the Bible if it's true. How about, if it is true, that is the only reason you need to believe it? Could you come up with a single example of anything where if it is true, you still shouldn't believe it? The problem is that the Bible is where Christians, smart or otherwise, get the claim for the existence of their God. Just like if we were trying to prove Darwin was correct about the evolution of finches in On the Origin of Species, which I know he was not correct on everything in that book, trying to start by granting his book was correct and then looking into reasons why others should believe it is not good epistemology. Beginning with the assumption that a book is correct and subsequently seeking reasons to convince others to believe it is not a sound approach to epistemology. True inquiry starts with a neutral stance on the veracity of a proposition, assessing it based on evidence and prior experience. We apply critical evaluation to determine whether something is true or not, relying on thorough examination of current evidence rather than presuppositions of truth.
Again, beliefs can be true. Okay? We believe that those with XY chromosomes, the male gender, are different than those with the XX chromosomal makeup, but the two together can make another person.
I don't want to get into this, so I'll keep this as short as I can. Gender is a complex social and cultural construct that encompasses a range of identities, roles, expressions, and behaviors that societies attribute to individuals based on their perceived sex. While biological factors such as chromosomes may play a role in shaping certain aspects of gender, gender itself is largely a social and cultural phenomenon. It is often overlooked by the undereducated on this topic that not everyone fits neatly into binary categories of male or female, and that gender identity can be diverse and multifaceted. Some individuals may identify as a gender different from the one assigned to them at birth, and their gender identity may not align with their chromosomal sex. Therefore, it is essential to understand gender as a spectrum rather than a rigid binary determined solely by biological factors like chromosomes. If people are really interested, I can make content talking about this, but there are biologists and biological anthropologists who you can find on YouTube or at universities who can explain this far better than I can and at much greater length. For example, check out Forrest Valkai for some awesome content. That guy is just fun.
We believe in gravity. We believe in so many different things. We believe that fire is hot to the touch.
Yes, people, even Christians, can have correct beliefs. The point is, we need to address how we know if a certain belief is correct. Because so far, it sounds like this guy is asserting that we start with the Bible being correct and going from there, which has a ton of issues, such as the fact that the Bible conflicts with reality in many places. But I will grant that no one is completely delusional about everything. No one is wrong about literally everything. I'm not sure what the point is yet.
That's a belief that's true. Okay? Now, that being stated, are there reasons to believe the Bible is true? Because again, if there is, then if there's reason to believe that the Bible is true, then there's reason to believe that what the Bible says is also true, and that we should believe that. Here's why you should believe the Bible. One, because the historical accounts are true.
I did not watch ahead, but I already put forth that there are places where the Bible conflicts with reality on historical accuracy. The biblical account of the Israelites' exodus from Egypt under the leadership of Moses is a central narrative of the Old Testament. However, there is virtually no archaeological evidence to support a mass migration of Israelites from Egypt during that time period described in the Bible. The sheer lack of evidence for the events described in Exodus has led scholars to question the historicity of Exodus story presented in the Bible. The book of Joshua describes the Israelites' conquest of the land of Canaan under Joshua's leadership. While there is evidence of the Israelites' presence in Canaan during the Iron Age, archaeological findings do not align with the violent, rapid conquest depicted in the biblical narrative. Instead, the process of Israelite settlement in Canaan appears to have been a more gradual and complex than portrayed in the Bible. The story of Noah's Ark and the global flood in Genesis 6 through 9 depicts a cataclysmic event in which God floods the entire earth to cleanse it of sin, sparing only Noah, his family, and pairs of animals aboard the ark. While flood myths are common in various cultures, there is no geological or archaeological evidence to support a global flood of that magnitude described in the Bible. As many atheist YouTubers like to say, if a great flood of Noah happened, someone forgot to mention to the ancient Egyptians and the ancient Chinese who didn't even notice it. This gets to my area of expertise, so I'm going to talk about this for a bit. The story of the Tower of Babel in Genesis 11 describes a unified human population building a tower to reach the heavens, only to have their language confused by God, leading to the dispersion of humanity across Earth. There is no archaeological evidence to support the existence of a single global human population or a massive tower as described in the biblical narrative. We know how languages form, and we can trace the lineage of just Indo-European languages all the way back to the beginning of the Anatolian branch around the mid-4th millennium BCE at the latest. This is not to mention the Sumerian and Akkadian, which are another branch from Mesopotamia from the mid-5th millennium BCE. A source and a better look at this chart is in the description. According to that bastion of knowledge, Answers in Genesis, the Tower of Babel was supposedly built around 4,200 years ago, with most biblical scholars agreeing that this happened around 2200 BCE, so we had multiple languages for at least 2,000 years before this. So even if I grant that there were some historical accuracies in the Bible, we know there are historical inaccuracies, and each claim must be investigated separately. We don't get to say, because some historical claims in this book are accurate, then all of them are accurate. This is a fallacy of composition. This occurs when someone assumes that what is true of a part of something must also be true of the whole, or when they generalize from specific instances to a broader conclusion without sufficient evidence. Now, to be fair, I know that this guy seems to be pushing that everything in the Bible is true, so this may not be a fallacy of composition actually.
There's never been a discovery. There's never been anyone to conclusively prove that any of the historical accounts in the Bible are untrue.
I just pointed out 4 instances we know are untrue and are likely parables or stories to explain why something is the case. These people did not know why languages were all different, so they came up with a story to explain why people spoke different languages. I'm not going to go into any other historical inaccuracies in the Bible, but if someone wants more or thinks they can explain away these first 4, which they cannot without ignoring reality, I can come up with many, many more.
Where it names kings and queens and migrations of people and so forth, we can't find any example of anyone disproving that. As a matter of fact, there was, I can't think of the man, the most famous archaeologist. He's got a weird name. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But what he has stated is that there's never been an actual archaeological find that has ever disproven the Bible.
Okay, I apparently need to touch on 2 more. The archaeological site of Jericho has been extensively excavated, and findings have gone against the biblical account of the Israelite conquest of the city under Joshua's leadership. While archaeological evidence does indicate that Jericho was inhabited during the time period described in the Bible, there is heavy disagreement among scholars about whether the city walls fell as described in the book of Joshua. The biblical accounts of King David and King Solomon describe a powerfully united monarchy ruling over a vast territory of ancient Israel. While archaeological excavations have uncovered evidence of urbanization and centralized authority in parts of ancient Israel during the Iron Age, there is a disagreement among scholars about the extent and the nature of Davidic and Solomonic rule as described in the Bible. The issue is that archaeological evidence can challenge certain interpretations of biblical events or narratives, though the stories in the Bible are easy to reinterpret in an attempt to fit that new evidence. Or when there's a distinct and noticeable lack of evidence for something like the Exodus, apologists like to say, absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. But absence of evidence is evidence of absence if it is where we would have expected evidence. We can effectively disprove something historically with this. Otherwise, any city that was destroyed was actually evidence of Godzilla. Godzilla is well known for destroying cities, so this destroyed city is evidence for Godzilla.
You would expect that there would be something to find that would disprove the Bible. For example, in the Book of Mormon, they speak of this society in South America with gold and iron and ships and so forth, and they give a general area, but nowhere in this area have we found anything like that. We found things that are quite the contrary.
His own argument can be used to defeat his own argument. The problem here is that he comes into this assuming that his source is true, and therefore anything contradictory must not be true. He isn't coming into this with an open mind. He isn't evaluating his own beliefs like he does with other people's beliefs. It is dishonest and a bit frustrating.
However, when we talk about the Bible, we end up finding archaeological finds and digs that show that, yeah, this happened. These were there. Even if we're not sure, we end up finding it later. That being the case, that's not the most compelling reason. Even when it states certain things that are just scientifically fact, or we had no way of knowing, for example, certain celestial bodies that there's no way of knowing they existed with the naked eye, but we find these things out later.
There are no examples in the Bible of celestial bodies that they could have not known about at that time. There may be certain passages in the Bible that may allude to astronomical phenomenon that were not fully understood by ancient observers. And in fact, the Bible asserts that there is a firmament. It asserts that the earth is the center of the universe. It asserts the sun stood still during a battle, and that the stars can fall from the sky. All of these we know did not and cannot exist or happen.
But more to the point, the biggest reason why you should believe the Bible is because of the prophecies that have come true. There's no book on the planet, not one, that has given predictive prophecy that has come true save the Bible.
No, just no. This is a major problem with uncritical thinkers like this gentleman. Anything vague enough can be twisted into a prophecy. In fact, let's just look at one. As the stars align in a rare celestial configuration, secrets long hidden shall be revealed, bringing both enlightenment and chaos. Now, for argument's sake, let's say this was written as a prophecy around biblical times. Now, what could this have been about? Some may interpret the alignment of the stars as an astronomical event leading to scientific discoveries or advancements in knowledge, while others may view it through the lens of superstition, associating celestial alignments with mystical or astrological significance. The revelation of hidden secrets could lead to either global unity, as nations come together to address shared challenges or truths, or it could spark global conflict as competing interests vie for control or dominance over revealed knowledge. The enlightenment brought by the revelation of hidden secrets could lead to technological innovations and progress, improving the lives of humanity. Or it could lead to technological catastrophe, such as the misuse of advanced knowledge for destructive purposes. The enlightenment resulting from the revelation of hidden secrets could spark a cultural renaissance, fostering creativity, art, and literature. Or it could lead to cultural decline, as traditional beliefs or values are challenged and undermined by the new knowledge. On an individual level, the revelation of hidden secrets could lead to personal transformation and growth, as individuals gain new insights or understanding about themselves and the world. Or it could lead to personal turmoil and existential crisis, as long-held beliefs or assumptions are shattered. What do you think? Take a moment and let me know in the comments what you think this prophecy could be attributed to. However, I just made this up. It came from a very similar place to apologist arguments, and by that I mean it was rectally oriented. I challenge anyone to give me a single prophecy in the Bible that I could not interpret to attribute to more than one potential instance. There are 0 examples, and in fact, there are instances in the Gospel of Matthew where he tries to write to fulfill prophecy, only to create confusion, requiring a reinterpretation to try to fit reality.
The only portions of prophecy that have not come true are the ones that were not supposed to come true yet, but they are to come true in the future, such as Christ's return, things like that.
He was supposed to come back within a generation, according to Matthew 24:34. Of course, that didn't happen. So apologists have to reinterpret what that passage was supposed to mean because it didn't fit the literal sense. It just shows that Christians cannot set forth any clear criteria to determine whether a passage should be taken literally or figuratively.
But in terms of, let's say, Alexander the Great, his rise and fall.
More vague passages. I'm not going to waste my time dissecting Daniel 11. It is a lot, and much of it doesn't fit Alexander the Great, so let's just move on.
That was prophesied perfectly. Israel's departure from the land, brought back and then again put out and then brought back again. That was prophesied. Jesus's life, his birth, his death, his burial, his resurrection, that was prophesied. Even if you think it's not true, anyone can make up that fairy tale. Well, here's a problem though. We've got scholars who are not Christian, historians who verify the fact that there were people that at least believed that, even to the point of death, those that were saying they were eyewitnesses to that.
The "they wouldn't die for a lie" claim. I am so tired of this one. I covered it in a previous video, but Paulogia does a more thorough dissection. I'm going to say 3 things you can use when you hear this tired old argument, and then I'm moving on. The willingness to die for a belief doesn't provide evidence for its truthfulness. It's about conviction, not accuracy. People die for their convictions in various religions and ideologies. It doesn't validate any one belief over another. History is replete with examples of people dying for beliefs that were later debunked or discredited.
So because of that, if you are going to believe anything else historical in nature, such as the founding of our country, which all we have to go off of is other people's eyewitness testimonies that have been accounted and handed down throughout the history.
The founding of the United States is a complex historical event that is documented through a variety of sources, including those eyewitness accounts, official documents, letters, diaries, newspapers, and later historical analyses. While some aspects of the founding period rely on eyewitness testimony passed down through generations, there is also a wealth of contemporary documentation that provides insights into the events and motivations of the founding era. Primary sources from the founding period include documents such as the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Federalist Papers, as well as personal writings from key figures like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and Benjamin Franklin. These primary sources offer direct insights into the thoughts, actions, and debates of the founding generation. Additionally, historians use secondary sources, later analyses, and interpretations of the founding period to further understand and contextualize the events and individuals involved. These secondary sources include scholarly works, biographies, and historical studies that draw upon primary sources and other evidence to provide a broader understanding of the founding era. While some aspects of the founding period may rely on accounts passed down through oral tradition or later recollections, the historical record is rich and varied, offering multiple perspectives on the events and the ideas that shaped the birth of the United States as a nation. It cannot be dismissed as just eyewitness accounts.
Then why would you not do the same thing for the Bible? Use the same standard with the Bible as you would anything else, and I promise you, the Bible will find its place in your heart, and you would place your faith in Christ if you are intellectually honest and logical. Amen?
I do use the same standard. That is the whole problem with this guy's points. He isn't using the same standards. It is actually upsetting how dishonest the point he's making here is. How do we know if a text is accurate? Here is my understanding of how historians determine whether historical text is accurate. Historians look for corroboration from multiple independent sources. If accounts from different sources align, or if there are consistent themes across various texts, it adds to the credibility of the information. Primary sources such as eyewitness accounts, official documents, letters, and records are created during the time period in question are highly valued. These first-hand sources provide direct insights into the events, perspectives, and motivations of the people involved. Understanding the historical context surrounding the text is crucial. This involves considering the social, political, cultural, and economic factors of the time period, as well as the biases and perspectives of the author. Evaluating the authorship of the text is important. Who wrote the text? What was their background, perspectives, and agenda? Addressing the author's credibility, expertise, and potential biases helps determine the reliability of the information. Historians scrutinize the accuracy of details and facts presented in the text. Are there inconsistencies or contradictions within the text or compared to other sources? Are there factual errors or anachronisms that suggest inaccuracies? Accounts written close to the time of the events they described are generally considered more reliable than later interpretations or retellings. Contemporary sources often have more immediate and unfiltered perspective on the events they describe. Archaeological findings can provide tangible evidence that supports or contradicts historical accounts. Corroborating textual evidence with archaeological evidence adds weight to historical interpretations. Assessing the interpretations and analyses of historians can provide valuable insights. While historical interpretations evolve over time, consensus among scholars can indicate the strength or weakness of a particular interpretation. Engaging in critical analysis involves questioning assumptions, considering the alternative explanations, and weighing the reliability of different sources and perspectives. This helps historians construct a nuanced understanding of the past. Take your time and go through this list. Do you agree with me on this? Are there other criteria you think should be on this list, or are there criteria on this list you don't think should be? Let me know in the comments. Now let's take a moment and apply this to the Bible. I know the Bible is not just one book, but a collection of books, so that makes doing this shortened version less accurate, but let's go generally, and definitely ignoring the supernatural elements. The Bible is a compilation of multiple books written by various authors over centuries. While there are multiple books within the Bible, they are not entirely independent sources, as they share common themes, narratives, and theological perspectives, and some, like the Gospels, are outright plagiarizations. Many parts of the Bible contain elements of primary sources, such as first-hand accounts, letters, and historical records. For example, some of the letters in the New Testament were written by early Christian leaders like Paul, offering insights into the beliefs and practices of early Christian communities. Understanding the historical, cultural, and religious context of the biblical texts is crucial. This involves considering the social, political, and religious dynamics of ancient Israel and the broader Near East, as well as the theological perspectives of the author. The authorship of many biblical texts is debated among scholars. While some books of the Bible are attributed to specific authors, e.g. the letters of Paul, others are anonymous or pseudonymous. Assessing the authorship helps determine the credibility and potential biases of the text. Scholars assess the accuracy of details and facts presented in the Bible by comparing them with archaeological findings, other historical sources, and internal consistency within the text. Some details in the Bible have been corroborated by archaeological evidence, while others remain subject to debate. The timing of the composition of the biblical text varies, with some books written closer to the events they describe than others. Early texts, such as parts of the Hebrew Bible or Old Testament, offer a more immediate perspective on ancient Israelite history and beliefs. Archaeological findings have provided insights into historical accuracy within certain biblical accounts. While some events and places mentioned in the Bible have been corroborated by archaeology, others remain unconfirmed or disputed. There is ongoing scholarly debate and diversity of perspectives regarding the historical accuracy of the Bible. While some aspects of the biblical narrative have broad consensus among scholars, others are more contested or subject to interpretation. Engaging in critical analysis involves questioning the assumptions, biases, and theological perspectives embedded within the biblical texts. Scholars apply various methods of textual criticism, source criticism, and historical analysis to construct a nuanced understanding of the biblical narrative. In short, while the Bible contains elements of historical narrative, religious doctrine, and literary tradition, its historical accuracy is a subject of ongoing scholarly inquiry and debate. And that's where his video ends. So let's take a look at what this gentleman was responding to and see if his points were indeed a great response. Reasons to believe the Bible are important because if the Bible is true, what it says should be believed. Historical accounts of the Bible are considered true with no conclusive evidence disproving them. Archaeological evidence often supports biblical accounts rather than disproving them. Prophecies in the Bible are evidence of its truthfulness, with historical figures and events fulfilling them. Eyewitness testimonies and martyrdom for beliefs related to biblical events are additional evidence of its truthfulness. Using the same standard of belief for the Bible as for other historical accounts is intellectually honest and logical. Overall, not a great response to an even less great point by the atheist. It seemed like a lot of bad apologetics and a presupposition leading to the presupposed conclusion and asserting it as logical. That's it for this one. So what do you think? Do you think this smart Christian made some good points? Or do you agree with me that he got a bit rambly and lost sight of the original point? Let me know in the comments below. If you accept that gravity is real, you can bring that hammer or finger on mobile down on that like button. Though, if you'd like secrets long hidden to shall be revealed, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already to receive said knowledge as it is revealed. My Discord is now up, and thank you to those of you who have joined already from around the world. It is cool to see your perspectives. The link to join is in the description. Though an extra celestial thanks to my patrons, Calamitous Anima, Sora, Long-Haired Lefty, Musical Ocelot, Ooga Booga Luga, Tarek Alkasab, Jemabomb, Kai Henningsen, and Triple Towel, who are the stars that actually fall to the world that is my channel. If you would like to be vague enough to be twisted into a prophecy, you can join them for as low as $1 a month at patreon.com/DarkOfAllTrades. I am sincerely looking into growth of this channel and if it has the potential to become an actual job for me. Currently, it isn't close yet, but I'm not far off from 2K subscribers, and while this is a lot of work, interacting with you all has been a lot of fun. Whatever happens, I'm glad you all are here with me on this journey. Thank you all for your support, whether that be financial or just leaving a comment or sharing a video you liked. Every little bit helps, and it all means so much to me. And as always, keep learning.